Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello. This is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. Today on the podcast, we have Joseph Hendrix. He's running for the Ward 3 seat in the city of Huber Heights. And today we have a conversation. All right. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Hendrix. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Joseph Hendrix. He is running for the Ward 3 seat in the city of Huber Heights. Mr. Hendrix, thanks for joining us on Truman's Town Hall.
All right, thanks for having me.
Okay, so first off, for the audience here, for those listening, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Joe Hendrix. I go by Joe. For some of the older audience out there, I'm not related to Jimmy. Sad thing is, anymore, I used to tell people how to spell my last name because it's spelled like Jimmy, Hendrix.
Right.
I used to tell people, oh, you spelled like Jimmy, and they used to get it. But anymore, people are like, who? So I stopped doing that at some point.
So you're not related to Jimi Hendrix then?
No, not. But I've lived in Huber Heights since 2017 when I married my wife. She has a house. I live in her house. It's in her name here on Ward 3 on Taylorsville, just down the street from the City Hall and police station. Sometimes when it's nice out and, well, before COVID, and if I would go to a council meeting to watch it, I'd just walk on down there.
Nice.
We have a daughter who just turned a year old and just started walking. And we have a son who's going to turn 3 at the end of this month. We also have a couple dogs we brought into the marriage together. She has, we say it's each other. It's both our dogs, but she has a 9-year-old cockapoo, and I got a 13-year-old lab mix who doesn't know she's 13.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So you've lived in Huber Heights a while.
Yeah.
One of the big issues I think folks are really interested in is how the city is handling COVID-19. Do you have a perspective on that?
The city's done decent for what they can do. The state's really tied their hands with a lot of what they can do. We tried to have the Marigold Festival, and then the states, I think that was the Marigold Festival, and the state said, oh, no, you can't do that.
Right.
I think we still did something, but we just wasn't a festival. I know the parks, they put a bunch of the hand sanitizer available there. There's something about buying seats, chairs. I don't know what the chairs had to do with it. Had to do with City Hall, but they bought seats for that with the money that they got.
The CARES Act funding, right.
Yeah. I guess maybe because they're easier to clean or something. So the city's done, for what they can do, they've done, I think, all right.
One of the questions I would have is on your website, which is, go ahead and you have a website. We let everybody know what that is real quick.
Yeah. It's joeforhuberheights.com. That's Joe, the number 4, huberheights.com. I also have the Facebook page.
What's the Facebook page?
Joseph Hendrix, candidate for Ward 3, Huber Heights.
Okay. And that's where folks can reach you at if they want to?
Oh yeah, they can reach me there. On the website, I made a little Google contact form if they want to message me there, and not without any requirement for, if they don't have Facebook, they can reach me there. I do have my phone listed on my website. I normally don't answer my phone because I get so many spam calls that it's ridiculous anymore.
Right.
So I don't bother. I don't even bother answering my phone unless I know who it is.
Right. I understand that.
But I listen to the voicemails, and I even look at the spam voicemails because sometimes they're scams, but they're sometimes ridiculous.
So one of the things I was looking at on your website is obviously the city of Huber Heights election, it's a nonpartisan election, so they don't
Correct.
really list party affiliations. However,
Correct.
you had your party affiliation on there, which was Libertarian.
Yeah, yeah.
So go ahead and explain for some of the folks that may not understand because I kind of tend to lean a little libertarian myself.
Yeah.
So for some of the folks that may not know what libertarian is, explain to some of those folks.
The way I see it, it's not forcing your way on anybody else. I define libertarian as a lover of liberty. Liberty is more than just freedom. It's freedom plus responsibility. So you don't have the right to...
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
You don't have the right to tell other people what to do, but you have to be more strict on yourself than you are on other people. I believe people need to go out and help without asking permission that they need to help somebody. Sometimes you'll see, and this is a lot of national stuff you see elsewhere, a church, for instance, a common thing is a church try to house homeless people, and then they get in trouble because they don't have a permit to house homeless people.
Right.
So the homeless people have to go and live on the street because the church didn't get permission from the government to be able to help homeless people. Sometimes I think maybe it even was in Dayton, there was a church that was feeding people, and they didn't have a permit to feed the homeless. They had to stop feeding the homeless.
Wow. So how would you bring some of those ideas, liberty ideas, in a position like Ward 3 if you're elected?
So it's a lot more difficult at the local level. I like small government, and to me, local government is small government. So if the government is going to do something like what we just had, plow the roads for snow, then that should be local government. It shouldn't be the federal government coming in and plowing our roads because they don't know how to prioritize what we need.
Right.
Because the federal government, they're going to go, okay, we'll plow right pat, and then we'll because that's federal property. So they're going to think that's more important than 202 or Taylorsville, or even some of the side streets. And it's also our money that we're paying for. It's Huber Heights money, so we're going to be more conscious with it, plowing our roads or doing whatever else we need than, say, the federal government would or even the state government.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of roads, there's a lot of talk about traffic in the city of Huber Heights. And I've noticed it myself that traffic is possibly an issue in some spots. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like traffic's an issue?
Yeah, especially on 202 or Old Troy between Taylorsville and just north of the highway. I try to look at it a little objectively. Yes, the traffic's annoying, but what I've noticed is, especially at Taylorsville and 202, there's a lot of accidents. So to me, that's a little bit more of an objective saying, okay, if there's a lot of accidents, that's a lot more serious problem than if it's just an annoying traffic jam every day. So something needs to be done. On the Everything Huber Heights page, people were talking about it recently. Also, when I was petitioning, somebody had an idea. I don't know how well this would work, but getting ideas from the people is, I don't have all the great ideas. All the great ideas are probably out there.
Sure.
People thinking. A side road off of 202. I don't know exactly where we put it. Some people said connecting the back of Huber Road and Merrily Way. I don't know exactly how you connect those because there's a lot of private property and there, just so that people can get in through Merrily Way and out through Huber Road. Because I also notice a lot of times, like when I'm leaving Merrily Way and I'm like turning left, somebody will have to, because they're in a hurry, they try to run the light, but then they can't run the light because the traffic builds up. So they end up stopping in the middle of the intersection.
Right.
I know a lot of people seem to have the attitude, well, somebody should, just obey the law. And yeah, that's true, but we should also design the road so that it's more intuitive and so that nobody's tempted to break the law or whatever.
Right, blocking up traffic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that idea going through private land. Would you be somebody for utilizing eminent domain where the city forces private property owners to sell their property for public use?
Not forcing.
Okay.
No.
Good. I don't think Huber government has had an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, even when they bought the Marion place, I don't think they used eminent domain for that, did they?
No,
they just negotiated.
They made a deal with that.
Yeah.
It's been passed around, but I don't think Huber government has ever had to utilize eminent domain, which I think everybody's happy for. But
yeah, I don't like eminent domain. It just seems wrong to me to force somebody to sell something. I mean,
right, I agree.
Maybe somebody could find some contrived extreme example where it would make sense, but most of the time it doesn't. And how do you even? And supposedly with eminent domain, you're supposed to give them a fair price, but how do you even know that when you're forcing them to sell?
And what's a fair price? It could be a piece of land that maybe you grew up on or whatever, and to you it's priceless, but to the government it's X amount of dollars. But so it looks like you're going into a primary.
Yeah,
for
there's
May
3
4th.
of us. Yeah.
How are you feeling about that right now?
Well, it's a little excited because I'm excited to see my name on the ballot, so it means I get to see it a little bit sooner.
Sure.
We'll see how I do, if anybody.
So when you're out gathering petition signatures to get on the ballot, what are folks talking about with you? What are they saying that some of their concerns are?
Well, a few people were concerned about the traffic. Another concern was transparency. I think I talked about that a bit on my website. City does okay with transparency if you want to go and get the information, but as far as the city going out and making sure that information is in the hands of people to begin with,
right.
A lot of times they're like, well, yeah, you can come to a council meeting and discuss it, which is nice that you can do that, but it should be more than that. You should be going out to the people and getting their opinions. The mayor did start doing he posted on Facebook some sort of council decision thing that he's posted. He's done it a couple times, saying what some council decisions were. He posted on Facebook, and I think it's on the website, the Huber Heights website as well.
Was that just recently that he started that?
Yeah, he's done like 2 of them. I think he posts them after council work sessions.
It must be campaign season. I'm just.
Oh well, yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I tease the mayor. I kid.
But I mean, if it's a good idea,
well, that's another interesting thing that I thought was interesting is that so the mayor's running for re-election, but 2 other council members are running for mayor. So do you see maybe there's a dynamic there that just isn't working, or do you think that those folks are just looking to step up in a position? The other 2, I believe it's Councilman at-large Glenn Otto and Councilman in Ward 6 Ed Lyons, who are both running against the current mayor, Jeff Gore. So what do you think about that whole situation?
Well, it's good to have people interested. One other thing with the type of government we have, the mayor is more just another at-large council member, the way we have with our city manager. Our city manager does the actual work.
Certainly.
The mayor gets paid more, and there's a couple other things he can. I mean, he's a figurehead, so he does a lot of. He's done a lot of speeches and stuff.
And he does have the ever important tie-breaking vote.
Oh yeah,
I think he's utilized that a couple of times. So that That's important. It's like in the national level with the Senate, how the way the Senate is, the vice president being the president of the Senate, she gets the tie-breaking vote. So that's kind of like what the mayor is now.
Yeah, she's been doing that a lot too.
And not a lot of ties come up in the city, if you're right.
Yeah.
But when they do, that's an important position to have.
Yeah. One thing I noticed when the first few meetings I went is most everything was passed unanimously. But as I learned more, a lot of things might not even made it that far if they weren't going to be passed unanimously. So
yeah. So do you show up at a lot of council meetings? You pay attention to what's going on in the city and.
Yeah, I try to. Before COVID, I was trying to go at least to the council meetings. What I've started doing these past couple of weeks is I there's so many meetings that if I was going to watch them all, I'd spend there's hours upon hours of meetings. What I started doing is going through on Monday morning all the agendas for the week.
Okay.
If there's anything interesting. I like to look at the minutes too, but sometimes those don't pop up. They don't write those quick enough. But if there's anything interesting, I'll go back and watch the video when it comes. Some things like, one thing I didn't watch, but I might have found it a bit more interesting than most people would is, and I don't know if they've completed this process, is passing some bonds. Selling some bonds to refinance the roads and to refinance the roads. And then to fund the Veterans Memorial. I don't know if I'm just being a bit of a nerd reading the details of how the bond works, but
yeah, sure. I mean, elaborate on that. Tell us.
Well, the bond they're refinancing the roads. I think they had like a short-term bond. A bond is just a loan that the city takes out that banks or investors or in your 401k will invest in, but the bond they're going out for the roads, and it looked like the rate was the same for the roads and the Veterans Memorial was 1.5% to 2%. So, and they were both 20-year bonds, so 20-year loans. And I may get some details wrong because I'm not as professional on how bonds work, but it looked like these type of bonds, they could pay off early if they wanted to. The only bad part about that is that makes the interest rate higher if you want to have a type of bond that you can pay off early.
So how do you feel about the city getting involved in businesses, city purchasing land? There was a private organization before the city took over the Veterans Memorial. There was a private organization looking at that piece, but they took it over. So how do you feel about the city utilizing tax dollars for businesses, land purchases, things like that?
That I'm not a big fan of. If it was...
Just so everybody knows, I'm not a big fan of that either, but...
Yeah. That seems to be something that they should do as a very last resort for, say, a really dilapidated property that
needs revitalized.
Yeah, that needs revitalized,
right.
or torn down for safety reasons. I don't know how bad in shape. It's Marion Center, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there on Brant Pike.
I don't know how bad in shape that place is. It looks old, but it doesn't look, just from the street, it doesn't look that bad of shape other than being just out of date.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's more so the location rather than, because there were existing businesses there.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think their goal, which has been going on for many years, is to revitalize that area of Brant Pike and kind of turn it into a walkable, not necessarily a downtown area, but more so a downtown area for people. And I think that's good. It's a good idea, but you got to have a way to pay for it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
It reminds me, I've noticed, I grew up in Xenia.
Okay.
So I think I'm in some Xenia groups online, grew up in Xenia. They have something similar on a downtown. I think they're doing something similar on a downtown. In their downtown, there's a downtown shopping center there. It might be as old. It was built, Xenia, so it was built. I know it was built after the '74 tornado, and so they're trying to do something similar down there. So that might be something just for us to keep an eye on to see what success and failures they've had there. If we're going to go ahead and spend the money to do something here, Xenia's close enough, and I don't know if I want to say if it's similar or not, because I don't know if that would offend people or not. But
it's pretty similar, I would say.
Yeah,
I live pretty close to Xenia.
Oh yeah, yeah, you do. Don't you live pretty much between Beaver Creek and Xenia, don't you?
Right, and it's I'm in Xenia quite a bit.
Yeah. So do you know what the place I'm talking about? There used to be a Kmart there, but I think they tore the Kmart down.
Right. And there was a bingo place there too, or close to there.
Yeah, I could tell you all the businesses that used to be there, at least when I lived there, however long, 15 years ago. But I don't know if they're all there anymore. If I remember right, there's Kmart, Fulmer, Radio Shack. I know Radio Shack's not there, because Radio Shack's not anywhere.
Yeah, Radio Shack's one of those companies that we used to love when we were kids, but it just they weren't able to keep up with the times. Which is a bummer. Yeah. So, what are some of the things you're hoping if you get elected? Like we said, you got to go through this primary. Mm-hmm. If you get elected, what are some things you would want to bring to city council? You mentioned transparency, but what are some other things that you would want to bring?
Get ideas from the people. One idea, I don't have this written down anywhere. I write down a lot of times what people, like when I went petitioning, any question anybody asked me, no matter how silly or stupid I thought it sounded, I wrote it down.
Sure.
But one of the things I asked on Facebook, on one of the Facebook pages or groups the other week, was asking people about how pedestrian friendly they felt Huber Heights. I figured that if more people walked, that would reduce traffic. And one thing people suggested was a pedestrian bridge. Well, actually, one person suggested, I believe, a pedestrian bridge somewhere across 70. Now, whether that's how feasible that is, like spending the money and all that.
We're at 70, because I thought there was a sidewalk.
There is along the roads on 202 and 201. But there's no pedestrian bridge all by itself that you would avoid all the traffic as a pedestrian.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, kind of similar to what they got going over 675 for Wright State. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Of course, then you wouldn't want to build it and then have nobody use it, so you'd have to do some studies and make sure this really is something people would want. Oh, I do have it written down. I just see it here on my notes. But then you'd have to figure out again, where would you build it? Is there any private property that would be? I don't like this phrase. How I'm going to say it, private property that would be in the way. I don't like saying that because. But
that leads back to the eminent domain deal. Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool to have some type of a walkway, especially for the music center. It's there.
Oh,
a lot of people would use it. Oh
yeah.
It would be cool to be able to walk there from all different types of neighborhoods that are surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And I think it would be safer than all the walking on 201 and 202 across the highway.
Right.
I know there was a water tower somewhere along there that looked like we had property for. Well, I assume we own the water tower.
Yes.
I don't have it. I have a map up right now that I'm looking at, but it's not showing me. I probably could switch it to satellite view and find it, but there's a few different places I saw that might work, but again, you got to figure out. Yeah, I think the water tower was. No, there's water towers to the west of the Rose once. Yeah, but yeah, pedestrian bridge. Yeah, that would. I didn't think about the Rose because. Yeah. What else does it get a lot of people to walk over? Maybe if they wanted to walk to a job over there to like somebody lives south of 70 and wants to walk to their job at Target or any of these other businesses that are up here on the north side of 70.
Right.
Instead of having to take their car through the traffic on 202 or 201. The less people driving, the less traffic.
That's true. What things are you working on now for coming up on the election? Are you planning on doing Facebook Lives? Do you have any meet and greets planned? What are some things you're going to get the folks rallied up behind your campaign here?
Well, I'm trying to think what I can do with the pandemic going still on. I'm trying to engage people on the Facebook groups. I'm not really doing it so much as a campaign. I mean, a little bit to get my name recognized, but I'm not saying, hey, vote for me, and then tell me your ideas. I'm more like, what do you think of this about Huber Heights, to get people's ideas. I find people engage certain things, people engage more than others. I asked a question about the city has a financial transparency, and I said, if you had the time or the know-how and the ability to look through this and ask any question, what question would you ask? And I didn't get any input on that. But when I asked the pedestrian question, I got a lot of input on that. I don't know if people are just
so you think folks are more interested in the community as a whole rather than how the financial aspect, how the city actually spends the money to get there?
It seems that way. I got to be very careful because, I might care about how, the details of the finance of the city. Like, for instance, I was talking about how I was fascinated about how the bonds were working. But I understand most people don't think that way. They don't think like I do.
Sure.
I do have an aversion to spending money sometimes, whether it's my money or somebody else's money. I mean, even when I go to like a restaurant, like back when I went more often, I would not get the little top to the soda cups of soda because I didn't want to waste the top of the soda, or I might not get a straw because I didn't think I needed it, so I didn't want to waste their money, even though it's not my money and it's not affecting me. I don't want to waste their money for the 2 cents they spend on the straw and the plastic top. I don't know why I'm like that.
So your idea is coming into this,
mm-hmm.
If you were elected, you would be a fiscally responsible person.
Yeah.
You would want to watch what's being spent and how.
Oh, yes, probably more so than... my biggest fear is that I would be, I don't want to say too fiscally responsive, but not wanting to spend... My biggest fear is I wouldn't want to spend money when it needs to be spent. I think I could do it, but I would have an aversion to it. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I think that's important. I think, when sometimes, and from my experience and looking at politics and researching
mm-hmm.
different ideas with politicians seem to be able to spend other people's money quite well.
Yeah.
Rather
true.
than saving the tax dollars and being able to, give back a little bit. Like instead of raising taxes, hey, the novel idea is to lower taxes and things like that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of folks that would be very interested to have someone in office like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell the folks listening?
Well, if they want to reach out, ask me any questions, give me any input. There's, the Facebook page. There's the website. You can email me. I think I have a email on my
Go ahead and give those the Facebook page and the website again so they know how to get a hold of you.
Yes. The Facebook, or let me start with the website. The website is joe4huberheights.com, and that's Joe, the number 4, huberheights.com. I have an email set up, joe@joe4huberheights.com. And then I also have my Facebook page, which is, the name is Joseph Hendrix, candidate for Ward 3, Huber Heights. But the @ thing is Joe for Huber Heights, just like the website.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Hendrix, who's running for Ward 3. Mr. Hendrix, thanks for coming on Truman's Town Hall.
All right. Thank you.